My name is Todd Shaffer. I've been with the company now. I'm working on Lucky 13, so hired in just after Glenn. I'm the coach, or one of the coaches of the Successful Investing group, so hopefully you can come talk to me there, as well as you'll see us do presentations all over the platform. So with that, let's talk about how I approach this market. First of all, the context was, right, this was thematic. We were looking for low dollar stocks that were likely to pop, right? And so typically that means a growth stock. So let's start by looking actually at a market timing graph, and let's take the context of kind of where we are. So everybody knows we've been living through this correction, right? Fast mover, lots of volatility. And what happens in these corrections, these sell-offs, is by definition, broadly, the market has sold off, right? So trying to find stocks that have uptrends established in that kind of environment is pretty slim picking. Glenn did a great strategy of the week last week talking about the market levels being oversold. Our indicators at their bottoming levels indicate an oversold market, and so be kind of ready for some kind of a rally. We've had a mixed bag here of rally over the past 3 sessions, today being the 4th session, right? So there's some opportunity here, although we're also seeing some inconsistency here. We had a big down day yesterday, right? So where are we? Is this the bounce? Is this just a relief rally bounce, or is this the beginning of some kind of explosive move? Well, sometimes those things take a little time to develop. So those who are most aggressive gunslingers were buying in on that first big hollow green candle, right? And then maybe licking their chops on yesterday. Meanwhile, those who were waiting for, say, the green light in the price column or the primary wave change haven't moved yet, and so they're saying, well, I'm glad I haven't because I'd like to see this thing develop a little bit more. So the approach I want to take is one of looking for new leadership coming off the bottom. If you just run the VectorVest bottom fishing searches, they're fantastic. And those searches generally rely on stocks that have a fundamental strength, RV or RS, or both, or VST score, with a low RT score. In other words, stocks that have good fundamentals that have been beaten down in that correction. And it takes a broad market approach in that it says, okay, it's down, but it's because it has good fundamentals. When the broad market rallies, these stocks are likely to garner interest. And so they'll rise with the broad market. Well, it takes the broad market to make that successful. On this approach, the approach I'm going to take, I'm going to look for sectors that are performing well off of that low. So kind of more focused approach, looking for new leadership, because that's what happens in the correction, right? Looking for who's at the top of the list in the correction isn't where you want to go. You want to see who is taking new leadership coming off of the correction. Okay, so before we leave this graph, just count back. How many days off of the low are we? How many did you count, Glenn?
3.
3. Whew. Okay.
Wow.
So it's interesting. When I started looking at this yesterday, I'm looking at a big down red candle, right? So the movement off of that low was muted yesterday, and it's really interesting to see how that has reversed itself today. So let's go over to the Unisearch tool, and I'm going to lean on a delta search for sectors. I like to use sectors because it includes multiple industries. And let's build off of the 10-day RT delta. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You see a 10-day price delta and a 10-day RT delta. My go-to is RT, but it occurred to me that with only 2 days off of the low, I might have been smarter to use the price delta. That looks for the percentage change in the sector's average price, right? So the RT delta is looking for the change in the sector's RT value over the last 10 days in this case. But we're going to modify that. Let's change the time frame from 10 days to 3 days, right? Because that's coming off the low. So who's accelerating? Which sectors are accelerating off of the low? Let's run the search. And this is right up to this minute, right? So the first thing I want you to notice is the first column after sector is the 3-day RT delta. That's how much the delta value has risen over the past 3 days. When I ran this search last night, that was in the single digits, right? So just the explosive move today has had a real impact on those values. And so, yeah, an explosive move off of the bottom really start stirring things up, right? So this is kind of one of those things you would want to track and monitor to track what's really coming to leadership. In the contraction, it isn't surprising that you would see utilities and REITs at the top of the list, right? The risk-off kinds of approaches, right? Consumer staples. Those are the sectors that you would think would come to the top of the list, right? And they have, so we certainly have money pouring into those sectors. But those sectors are typically large cap, expensive stocks, right? So my comment to Glenn was, you found one that was low priced, which was kind of cool in that sector. So the time I ran this, the best performers yesterday were instruments, internet, and drug. And so I just want to kind of show you the methodology I use to find my candidates. So let's see the drug is on there. Let's go to the drug sector. Let's right click on it and view the stocks in the sector.
For those of you who are new, just pay attention to how simple it is for Todd to do what he's trying to do here.
So all of these stocks are in that sector. So to diversify my portfolio, I'm not buying 10 of these, right? All I need to find is one or two, depending on your portfolio size. And then if this is a more aggressive play, maybe just one. So the first thing I want you to think about is the VST sort, right? That's our default sort anytime you're looking at stocks. But what am I looking for? We were looking for explosive, low dollar stocks to trade, right? So I have a couple things I could do. I could sort by RT and find the stocks that are in the strongest upward price trends. I chose to sort by RV because that'll give me the stocks with the best upside potential, typically higher growth rates. And so then I cherry picked from this list, right? So I have RV descending here. How many stocks do you have? 30, that's fine. Let's scroll over to the right because I'm gonna clean up this list a little bit. Right, so let's stop at growth. Look at the growth rates that I'm getting from these stocks, right? So I would typically eliminate anything here that was less than 10. I'm not interested in less than 10 because I'm looking at a growth trade here, right? What else do I want to look at? Let's scroll over and make sure that all the stocks have average volumes well into six figures is typically what I do. So if you, Glenn, highlight the series, if you would.
What?
Tag the series of stocks that we can see. Hold the shift key, click at the bottom, tag them all. And so the methodology is really easy. I see that FENC only has 61,000 shares traded on average. Hold the control key, click it, and eliminate it, right? So I go through the list, eliminate all the low volume issues, scroll over to the right, and I'm also interested, particularly because where we are economy-wise, let's get rid of anybody who has negative sales growth. By definition, anybody who's flat or growing their sales is still a contender. And that's how I culled my list. I also eliminated any pink sheet candidates. And then it's simply a matter of looking at the graph. So let's right-click and view the stock graph. I'm looking at a 1 year time frame. Let's take off volume. Just clean up, give me price and earnings is all I really need. And I'm sorry, add a 40-day moving average. I lied to you.
Aye.
I'm making it hard on you. What am I looking for? Well, let's go to the next graph because that only has data from July.
How does this not have a 40-day moving average?
It's there. Go back down. It's the top one.
That's on volume.
Oh, it's volume.
Yeah.
Wow.
So right click on the thing you want to add an average for and then choose your moving average. All right, what am I looking for? On this 1 year graph, I'm just looking, is the price going bottom left, upper right? I don't even care about smooth at this point because I'm looking for explosive stocks. So RS values below 1 are fine. I'm looking for something that's going to move quickly, right? Let's go to the next one. And I just thumb through here now, and I'm looking for any stock, stop there, a stock that has gone in uptrend, but it pulled back, okay, retested the 40, maybe even went below the 40, but it's generally an uptrend, and now I'm going to get the bounce off of the retracement that happened in the correction. That's what I'm looking for. All right, so that's a lot of talking. But that's how I got to my list. Well, let's close this and go back to our watch list. And my first stock was Teradyne, TER. So go to the watch list first, Glenn. So here's Teradyne, undervalued, $61 price, $71 value. Good upside at 1.32. Interesting that it has high safety, and typically you don't see fast price moves, with high RS stocks. But the chart doesn't lie. In this group, 13% growth rate. And yes, it's been in downtrend, but the other data points support the stock. So really what I'm looking for is out of that cohort of stocks who had the proper price pattern, if you will, chart pattern supported. So let's take a look at its graph. All you gotta do is find it. And so here's kind of what I'm looking for, right? Beautiful price pattern coming up, nice support on that 40-day moving average. It's pulled back hard in the correction, again, below that. And now I'm on the bounce. So let's go to the earnings pattern. Beautiful, right? This is typically what we're looking for our hot stock picks. Let's go to 3 months. So now my play here is that I'm on, if this market extends, right, I'm on the rebound. So that pivot, the pivot low gives me a nice exit point, to manage risk.
Pivot.
And I've got nice headroom. I've got nice void going up to that previous swing high back above the 40-day moving average. All right, so for me, this trade, all these trades really rely on this bounce turning into something a little bit more extended. Steve?
That's it. Well, I love Teradyne. It's a great stock, number one. I think I've picked it on this panel before. I do like current price action. It's very congruent with market direction right now. Mm-hmm. So assuming we get the kind of response that's typical of market corrective actions that we've seen and indicators we have in VectorVest telling us, we had an oversold situation. Assuming we get further rise in the market, I would definitely look for Teradyne to rise with the market. Beautiful earnings, as you can see on the chart there. And not many stocks are increasing their earnings even at that speed on a current basis. So, earnings is the engine that drives stock prices higher. There's a lot to like. I mean, the correction has given us an opportunity here, definitely with Teradyne. And Jim?
Yeah, Teradyne is a stock we find often in our retirement investing and the searches that we do there. Actually, in our Tuesday coaching session, it is the one and only buy right trade that's still open. I held it through the drawdown. I broke the rules a little bit. I let it go because it gapped down. And it's starting to come back, so I'm hoping so. The high relative safety stocks, listen, whether it's, whether you're trading it 3 and 8 moving average on a 2-minute bar, or if you're buying it for your portfolio, retirement portfolio, high RS stocks is still going to be the way to go for me anyway. So yeah, hopefully that's a bottom, certainly for our buy right portfolio, I'm hoping. So great stock.
I love the methodology. The methodology in and of itself, to find out what's moving coming off of a bottom, the delta on the sector or on an industry. I'm just the opposite of Todd. I like it on an industry more so than a sector, because I like that an industry we get more industries in a sector. Same methodology though. Finding what's moving. How many times do we get that question? Man, what's moving the most? What's moving the best? Where should I put my money? This methodology of finding the sectors that are moving, diving into that to drill down to find the stocks that are moving, outstanding. And you'll find trades like this. And before Todd goes on to his next stock, just for those who are just coming in, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. All right, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, especially if you're finding this useful data or information.
Before you move off of that, Glenn,
Yes.
you bring up a good point, because there's a trade-off that I'm making here, right? First of all, the sector is what brought me here. Of the stocks that were in that cohort, this stock was the best, both on chart pattern and fundamentals. It is, however, a $60 stock with growth rates in the teens. It's not I'm not really expecting explosive price movement here.
No.
Right? So I've made a trade-off because I identified it was in a good sector. Well, we looked at that search and it is now, 10th down in the list. So as today's rally, extended on a pretty explosive day, at least a strong day, there are other sectors that are now accelerating faster than this sector, and as I continue to monitor it, particularly if I'm only stepping in, not buying 10 stocks all at the same time, then I'll ride that wave higher as it plays out. All right, let's go to the next pick.
Where
Next
am I?
pick is DAVA,
There we are.
and should we look at the fundamentals on it?
It's up to you. We could do that.
Sure, why not?
They look like they're going to be good.
So $52 stock, undervalued with a value at 98, right? RV strong at 1.6, and the RS right at 1.0. I mean, 400ths of a point. We're not going to quibble. In a pretty strong uptrend currently, buy rated. Now here's something I'm liking, right? 37% growth rate. That's more to my liking. If you scroll over to the right, let's check our volume, particularly when you're cherry picking a list, right? You want to make sure that you have good average volumes, and that in this case, I was looking for positive sales growth as well. Now, if you're a trader and you're just playing price action, do you really care about sales growth? Well, no. But so I'm taking a more prudent kind of slant at this exercise. All right, but let's go take a look at the graph. And again, remember the thing that got me here, again, this is a higher priced stock, but the thing that got me here was the sector is performing. The entry here is interesting, right? We came back, we've tested that 40 several times. It's still in trend, but really consolidating during this. It's actually been pretty resilient to the downdraft.
Yeah.
So this one, I'm showing you the resistance level at the prior congestion, and so I'm looking for the breakout above that for my entry. Earnings are softening up here a little bit, but they're still trending higher over the year. We've slipped 50 cents. Right, so I prefer not to see that, but they're still making money, and they're still growing their sales. So I'm willing to take the bet on that, and let's see if we can get the breakout. Steve?
Yeah, so to build on what Todd's saying and just say it from a slightly different angle, what takes care of the reduction in forecasted EPS is the breakout of the stock price, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't love the pare back of the forecasted EPS pattern, but with breakout of price, I think this is more of a trade than the pterodine.
None of these are investments in theory.
Yeah, this is definitely more of a trade. And if you go back to the watch list, I think somebody was saying earlier, looks like long-term investing. When you look at the RV and RS combination of this stock, I know in the blink of an eye, just looking at those two numbers, that what you have here is a very favorable, aggressive investment. You have high upside potential with the RV well above 1 at 1.63. That's one of the higher numbers you'll see in the whole database. Tends to top around 1.7, 1.8 when times are really good, which they're not as good as they have been, right? So that's a very high number. And then the safety rating is kind of where you want it to be if you're an aggressive trader. You don't want a safety rating of 1.4. You're willing to give up a little bit safety, realizing it's good to have some kind of a safety net in most occasions, particularly for new people that are just getting involved in investing or trading. So I think it's a great looking stock from an aggressive standpoint, and the breakout on price takes care of the action. Jimbo.
Yeah, if you go back to the graph, it's really the same idea with a lot of these stocks, given where the market is. I'm still going to wait for it to break through. That probably, is that the last close, or what is that line up there? It's not the last.
That's the high.
We just drew a level of resistance.
Yeah, I mean,
Go 3 months there, Glenn.
I'd put a buy stop above that somewhere. I wouldn't buy it, and I got to be honest, where that is now, it's retracing a little from that resistance. I might even short it, but as a trade, until I found maybe some support. But yeah, a good trading stock. It doesn't always have to be to the upside when you're trading a stock, but. Or you could sell an iron condor against it.
It's looking pretty good.
I will say this,
That's a different
because
class.
it's come up actually a couple of times now in the last couple of stocks. I'm gonna go on the defensive for relative safety here and say that you can get explosive blast offs with a high RS stock, and you can trade a high RS stock, even if you're doing it short term. So I gotta fight for my RS. That's all.
We might actually do the skip strike butterfly on that one.
You could do the
Wow.
skip strike butterfly.
Skip,
Yes,
strike,
yes.
butterfly.
Yeah.
That's another day.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I like about it? Even though earnings is softening up a little bit, as Todd said, it's still higher than it was 1 year ago. I do like that it's forming its own another level of support right here, which was a really good level of resistance as it broke out. Stock is sitting in a channel. I like that. Put this on a 3-month graph. I like the bounce off. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. All of those 4 points hitting right off. That's a beautiful level of support sitting at 50.04. And right now it pulled back a little bit, but you know, as long as it can stay in the channel, I would still keep this on my watch list. I like Jim's take on it. Let it break above out of that channel before you pull the trigger on it. And this is why you say to yourself, if you have a plan, trade the plan, plan the trades. That's a good level to say, all right, I no longer want to look at it. As long as it stays above there, you're fine, especially knowing that the stocks graph over the last year has moved up. That's ideal. All right, real quick, the live video will be available as recording, so be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you get notified when the content is posted. And thank you for posting that, Jen. I've seen a lot of people ask, is this being recorded? And yes, it is. And as long as you subscribe to the channel and you hit the bell icon, you will be notified when the video is available for you to view. But again, on that stock, I like it. Steve pointed out, RV was above 1, RS was below 1. That is the epitome of what an aggressive stock is. Somebody who's looking for upside potential, but willing to give up a little bit of risk. So right on board with that, Steve.
Yeah, Glenn asked a good question, the other Glenn.
What other Glenn?
Glenn W.
Oh, Glenn, okay.
The sell rating worries him. Well, remember where we are, right? We're 3 days off of the low of a correction. So a lot of stocks that have good fundamentals have been beaten down, have sell ratings, and you're getting in very early before they've reestablished trend. So this is a more aggressive entry to be sure. The benefit of that, if you want to think of it that way, is that pivot point, right, where the stock pivoted and started rising off the low, that's a natural support level that gives you a stop loss level to protect the trade.
I think the sell would have been on Teradyne though, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, not on this one.
Yeah.
This has a hold probably. Yeah.
Fair enough, but broader point, bottom fishing, you're buying sell-rated stocks or hold-rated stocks often before they've demonstrated an uptrend. They're bouncing, and you're just trying to get in early. So if that's not you, then that's fine. You can wait for a green light and a buy rating. That's fine. All right, let's go back to the watch list, and let's look at Collegium. Collegium. So at least I finally broke the $50 barrier. Right, price to 22, value to 27. I'm getting there. All right, RV at 1.53, strong, right? So a good growth stock. RS below 1, so I got a little bit more volatility. Kind of trading flat at the moment. Hold rated. Earnings growth rate at 40%, even though that it's only 97 cents at the moment. But if you keep scrolling, just make sure that we have average volumes that are acceptable. Yep, and sales growth. Not rocking the box here, right? But it's positive. All right, so that in mind, let's take a look at the stock or at the chart. Now this is a more interesting chart because you've been worried about my bottom left, upper right, smoother the better, right? So a lot of times you'll see sideways choppy price action, right? Now this it broke out on that gap right here in November. Since then, trended up into this current consolidation. Got all that. Traders often like sideways choppy price action, right? Because there's an opportunity to buy the low and sell the high. You have to be pretty nimble, right? And particularly when the broader market's not helping you out, you may have to double down on that, on being nimble. Right, so here's the idea of this hasn't been in an extended uptrend, but the earnings are going the right direction. They've gone positive right over this past year. They're continuing to rise. The stock responds to that profitability. The market responds to the profitability on the breakout. We've established a high, which we've come back now and tested 3 times. So that gives me a natural breakout level for continuation on this if the market continues to follow through. So what, 2 of my 3 picks are all waiting for a breakout, but there I have it, right? They were in leading sectors. And so if that sector play continues to move higher, then they're good candidates for me. Over.
Over. All right, so it could be worse. You could have been saying, I would have bought this 6 days ago. At least now you're saying, hey, these are stocks to get prepared to buy. It's easy to look back and say, yeah, this was a good buy back then. Here again, there's not much value add I can do. I think you've done all the legwork, and break of the channel certainly is required here. Yeah. I'm a little concerned in that it's spent so much time trying to break out on all of this abundant good news expressed by the bottom line and the forecasted rise in earnings. But you do have lower highs coming into the flattening piece there. To me, it means it's just a matter of time. Now, that matter of time might go on a lot longer than we'd like, but eventually, I think, given good market conditions, this could finally break through.
Yeah. You like the higher low, but today's pullback on an up market day is a little bit
concerning. That's what I mean. They're struggling here for some reason that's not being expressed by the tape. Right. So that concerns me a little bit.
I roger that.
I'm with that too. I'm with that as the earnings are rising.
Expediency.
The engine that drives the stock's price higher, something ain't being told. It should have been breaking out through, but it keeps stopping right at that level of 24.82. It's really got to break above that before you pull that off.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Think of it as pent-up demand.
Yeah.
When it finally breaks out.
They very well could go up like a rocket.
Yeah. Then again, maybe not.
It's got to break through first.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Now, if you're new to the software or would like refresher information about the software, click on this Getting Started video right here. Thanks to all of your input, here's a YouTube video that we think would be perfect for you. Click right here. If nothing else, folks, just hit the subscribe button right here.